So, I want to talk about this clip that went viral of a black woman saying that she got turned away at a club in Miami for being too dark and too thick. And just an FYI, I am posting content for Neptunian members and patrons again. So, if you are interested, definitely check it out. The links to watch are in the description box. Now, let's get into today's topic.
Yeah, y'all, I'm trying to figure out why I'm in the middle of Miami. Literally at what time?
It's 12:44.
At 12:44, we go to a club called Mona. Do you know this club told me I'm too dark and too thick? Didn't let her in because she's too thick. Dark?
Bitches have audacity.
What's really going on, Miami? All too dark to get in the club? Yeah, no. Somebody need to let me know what's going on in Miami. Seriously. Yesterday, I was invited out. This is not a club that I wanted to go to. This is a club that people thought would be a good place for me to go with them. I decided to go. It was called Club Mona, somewhere on South Beach, somewhere, right? We went. We was dressed up. We was told that we need to wear heels. Cool. I'm there. We get there. The girls talk to the promoter. I really can't hear what they're saying, but I could just tell that is a bad vibe going on. Whatever the case may be. Boom. When we leaving, we basically was letting know that we wasn't getting in. But they also said that we paid a certain amount of money they was going to let us in. Which, of course, we was not going to do. Because why would I pay y'all money and y'all didn't even want me in y'all club in the first place, right? As we walking away, just to get away from the scenery, time to go home, it's over and done with, somebody stopped us. It was a promoter. He literally was like, hey, y'all, let me tell y'all the truth. He was like, pointed dead in my face and said, you too dark, you too thick, and also they don't let people wear shorts because me and the other girl had on shorts.
Now, I am not sure if this woman has been living under a rock, but it is very well known at this point that certain clubs in Miami are very racist, colorist, and they're very strict about the type of women they allow into their clubs, especially if you are a black woman. And I keep hearing people say, oh, well, this lady didn't get in not because she's dark, but it's because she's fat and she's conventionally unattractive. And I partially disagree with that. I feel like people do this a lot when women come out and talk about colorism, but just because they're conventionally unattractive or they're fat, it doesn't take away from the colorism and racism that happens in some of these spaces. Like, two things can be true at once. And I definitely agree with what people are saying about her weight, but it's like a tiered list of qualifications in Miami Beach and South Beach in particular. And I have a little bit of experience with Miami Beach because, as most of you know, at one point I was trying to be an artist in my early 20s, so I did a lot of traveling. But in my observation, the beauty qualifications for women, specifically in Miami Beach, it starts with weight, then race and skin color, then fashion, then sex appeal, then facial attractiveness, and in that exact order. So I think a lot of people are overestimating the attractiveness part. Like, you don't necessarily have to be like drop dead gorgeous in the face to like get into these clubs. And if you have curves, you have to be on the slim thick side, small waist, flat stomach, smaller arms, etc. Like, Miami thick is different from Texas thick, if that makes sense. And obviously, it's not only about skin color because, as we can see, the woman behind the dark-skinned woman who made the video is light-skinned, and she got turned away too. But I've seen with my own two eyes women who weren't that facially attractive get into clubs down in Miami just because they were Latina or white and had nice bodies and knew how to dress. And we know that colorism specifically is a problem in these clubs because, if you guys remember, there were strippers and bartenders who actually went on strike some years back because of the racial and color discrimination that happens in their industry. And women from everywhere were sharing their experience, and many of those women were very attractive with very nice bodies. I did a video about it. Pointing out that reality doesn't mean a woman is always ugly or has low self-esteem or an inferiority complex. It's just stating the truth. And stating the truth doesn't make you any less attractive, ladies. And it's weird because I'm seeing a lot of women who look very similar to the woman in the video calling her ugly and saying, oh, it's just because you're not attractive. And I'm like, you kind of look like her, sis. And it's just kind of embarrassing when Black women do this. But anybody telling you that it's never about race or color and it's purely about attractiveness in the entertainment industry is either lying or they're just not familiar with it. Now, is it always race and color that get Black women denied at these clubs? No. It can definitely be a multitude of reasons, but multiple things can be true at once. They do discriminate against Black women, and especially dark-skinned Black women, and they don't let you in if you're fat. And as a Black woman, you are held to higher beauty standards than non-Black women. Those are the facts. What got me into the clubs in Miami Beach when I was younger was my body for the most part. And I am not trying to be mean, but I always saw Latina and white women in there who weren't that facially attractive and bodies were not all that. But they got in because they were thin, Latina, or white women, and because they were dressed cute. They didn't have to have a small waist and a big butt. Their race and skin tone was enough. I know that these clubs show all of these model-esque women in their promo pictures, but when you actually get in there, not every woman looks like that. That's why there's still a hierarchy inside of the club. There's a VIP section for the baddies and the ballers that they show on Instagram, and there's also a regular section for the women who looked good enough to get in, but still aren't VIP attractive. There's a regular section for the men who don't have VIP money. Now, I do agree with what everyone is saying about Miami beauty standards being higher than other less popular cities, but the way people are acting like you gotta be a perfect 10 and you gotta look like a runway model to get into places like Live and Club 11 and Mint, that is comical. That's not true in my experience and observation. Now, I know some things have probably gotten worse and more strict since I went to Miami Beach. You know, I'm kind of old now, but all you have to do is look on some of these clubs' pages to see that not all of the women there are drop dead gorgeous. The most they have in common is that they're skinny, Latina, and white. So trying to tell Black women that they have to look like models to get in these clubs and trying to make them feel bad because they don't look like that, it's not only fucked up, but it's inaccurate because most of the women don't look like that in the club. And another thing I don't hear a lot of people talking about is the fact that most of the men who party in Miami Beach, they're looking for flings. They're looking for women they can smut out after the club or escorts they can see on a regular basis when they're in Miami for business. Miami Beach is notorious for having a lot of high-end escorts looking to hook up with rich men and a lot of rich men going there specifically to find those kind of women. The clientele in Miami Beach is a bunch of rich Latino and white men. A lot of them are tourists. And this, of course, is outside of the, occasional Black male rapper or entertainer that shows up at these clubs and the celebrities that show up. But the men there are specifically going to party and find Latina and white women they can get high with and hook up with and smut out in their luxury hotel rooms or their tour buses or their yachts or whatever. So in my opinion, I don't think it's an environment that Black women should want to be in, and you're not missing out on anything, to be honest. And look, I understand if you're young and you want to have fun. I've been young and fast and in my 20s before too, so I get it. But if I could do it all over again and be in my 20s again and I found myself in Miami, I would not go to Miami Beach. The last time I was in Miami, I was there a few years ago. We mingled in East Miami. My friend took me to this rooftop spot. Now, there was a dress code. It was expensive. And I'm sure there's also some escort activity that goes on in East Miami too. But I just feel like it was much classier than Miami Beach. I also saw more variety in terms of race and body type. There were more professional established men of all races. So if you are a Black woman and you're ever in Miami, maybe try going to places in East Miami rather than Miami Beach. I know some of the Black clubs are up north. I haven't been to many of those, so I can't speak on that experience. But my friend did take us to a Jamaican restaurant that was pretty good. But I'm pretty sure it was in North Miami, or it could be East Miami. I don't remember. And also, any Black woman who lives in Miami, feel free to put your Black woman friendly club and lounge and restaurant recommendations in the comments. And please share only the upscale, classy recommendations, because I feel like that's another issue here. Too many Black women are trying to get into these Miami Beach clubs to appeal to only one demographic of men. And that, of course, is these ratchet Black male entertainers, whether they be rappers, singer, actors, or whatever. And I feel like a lot of Black women either want to get close to them or close to their entourage or the people who work for them, their producers, their friends, friends or whatever. Because let's be real, most black women are trying to get in these clubs to be around them, not the Latino men and the white men. But even if you are a black woman who's interested in rich Latino men and white men, I promise you that Miami Beach isn't the place to find them unless you are a S worker and you want to be smutted out. So ladies, you need to understand that most of the women who are being chosen by these men in Miami Beach, they aren't getting a prize after they get into these clubs. And like I said before, a lot of them aren't even making it into the VIP section to be around these men. And even then, like, these women are getting smutted out. I'm trying to tell you what I know, okay? They are not getting a prize, at least not a prize that many of you would want. Because think about it. Do the women you see talking about this online and telling you, that wasn't my experience. I was able to get into Club Mona. She just didn't get in because she's fat and ugly. Are those women married to any of the ballers that be up in the VIP section in these clubs? Did they get some amazing prize after being allowed in the club? 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. And to take it a step further, we see the character of most of these rappers and black male entertainers who go to clubs looking for a certain aesthetic of women. We see how they treat the women that they get. I think the most recent and perfect example of this is Diddy. He's a party boy. He's the type that would be up in these clubs. And he's also abusive. He's also a cuck and had all these women on the stand testifying about baby oil and freak-offs that they were barely getting paid for, by the way. So how much of a win is it to be allowed in these clubs and be in proximity to these men? These are the kind of things you need to ask yourself as a black woman before you get all upset and bent out of shape about being rejected by these dudes. See, when you level up and you elevate your mentality and you become more refined as a black woman, you won't care about getting in these clubs because you won't be interested in the kind of men who frequent them in the first place. And you'll find that there's way more to offer in classier environments that don't have as many rules and restrictions. Now, with that said, of course, you still want to look nice. You still want to look good. The better you look and the more in shape you are, the better your experience is going to be no matter where you go. So that's the part I agree with when people are talking about these women and their weight and their hair and their makeup. Like, you definitely want to make sure all of that is on point, especially before you turn on the camera and start talking about colorism and racism, because that is the first thing people are going to go to. They're going to try to find everything about you to pick apart and discredit you and minimize your experience. But like I said, when you change your mindset and you level up, you won't even want to be in environments like this. And I know some of you hate when I bring class into everything, but the truth is that moving up in class and expanding your horizons and socializing and networking in classier spaces, it really will alleviate some of the problems that a lot of y'all are having. You need to stop limiting yourselves to black men and black culture. Stop following everything that they do. When you go out of town, stop going to these super touristy places because you heard they were popping on social media. Try to find the more laid back, classy environments, especially if you are an unambiguous dark-skinned woman who's, looking to level up, looking to date interracially, not just looking to be smutted out and not just be used as a jump off or a hookup for one night. It's okay to want a higher social status, but I feel like y'all are chasing after the flashiness, you know what I'm saying? And the shit you see online. But it's the quiet, laid back, upscale places where you're going to have the best experience. I promise you. So just a change of environment alone will protect you from some of these hurtful experiences. Go on another side of town. Go to a different kind of club. Hell, go to a different state or country if you need to. Free yourself and explore other options. And not just in men, but life in general. So yeah, that is my advice. That's all I have on this topic for now. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Also be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch up with you in the next video.